Hello and welcome to patch 14.22. My name is Chris, and join with me is my patch review duo partner for hopefully another season, my friend Jason.
Hey Chris, we'll see about that, but good to be here today, and we got a new champ, couple of systemic changes, a lot to talk about.
Yep, and we're using a third website this time because it's remarkably similar to League Wiki, which is still out of date for whatever reason. But hopefully there won't be any goofy hiccups. Let's go right into some of these system changes that I know you want to talk about. Why don't you tell me what a bot trial is?
Bot trial, I suppose, is where they are trying out some bots just in specific regions, and it looks like just in the ARAM queue for now. But yeah, a couple patches ago, we talked about how they were planning to introduce um, training bots essentially to PvP games for new players specifically, to give them, I guess, a less toxic and easier learning curve. So instead of getting smashed by a 12-year Smurf, that's just going to be clowning on them and bounce them off of the game. They'll get kind of a fair match against a bot. Because look, I mean, when you're just starting this game and just playing PvP for the first few times, especially if you haven't done a bunch of like AI matches, like it's a pretty steep learning curve. There's a lot of things that you don't even know that you don't know yet.
Doesn't it seem
And
odd that they're adding a barrier for entry to play ARAM with like all humans, but you can just go right into ranked?
my understanding, or at least my speculation here, is that they're only testing it in ARAM for now, so that it's less disruptive to Rift. In a few patches, if the test is good, they're gonna introduce it to all the modes, or at least to Rift as well.
They're gonna let you gain LP off of playing against bots.
No, this isn't for ranked. You can't play ranked until you're level 30 anyway.
They still have that?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh well, probably takes you like. In my day, it took like 3 or 4 months to get to 30. I bet now it takes like a
Yeah,
week.
yeah, it's easier now, but this is only for like your first several games to give you a better learning curve.
All
And I
right.
think, yeah, I think they kind of like adjust to your skill level. So if like it detects that you're really good, you're just dominating these clowns, and you're a Smurf, they'll either stop giving you bots or they'll give you much harder bots. And
All
then if
right. We don't need
all
to
right,
listen to you talking about ARAM forever, for God's
you're the one
sake.
who asked me to this. All right, now last thing to mention, I think, is that they're not telling you that they're bots. So they're probably gonna give them like some like
Oh,
random ass
well,
like
you'll never,
XX Sasuke 69 XX name or whatever.
you'll
and,
never
and
be
you'll
able to
realize
tell.
you're playing against real people.
Okay, yeah. You'll know right away when they're nice to you by not talking shit. Like,
Exactly.
the fuck?
And you'll actually think that this game has a good community. You'll get
Yeah.
addicted, and then you'll realize how trash it actually is. Um, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. Is anything about this bounty? Is this purely visual, or is there
Yeah,
something
the
I'm
bounty is
missing?
purely visual. They're going to show it on the scoreboard with a smaller bounty now.
I swear they were already doing that for a few years. Whatever. Okay, now I know you want to talk about this minion change.
Yeah, this is actually interesting and impactful. It's written in an overly technical sense here, but essentially what happens right now, sometime at the beginning of this year or around then, they made a change where, because it takes a longer time for you to walk, obviously, from fountain to top or bottom lane than it does from fountain to mid lane. And until this year, it was the same for the minions as well. And what they did was they gave the minions in the top and bottom lane a speed boost, so that they would kind of crash in the top, mid, and bot lane at the same time. And one thing that did was it made it harder for the mid laners to get a hit on experience, and also harder to clear their wave and roam while the other lanes were still trying to clear minions. And what they've done with the change here is that they've pulled that back by about half. At the very beginning of the game, all the lanes will crash at the same time. Several minutes in, mid lane will be crashing a little bit quicker than the top and bottom lane, making it a little bit easier to get ahead in experience and roam for the mid laner. And then by 14 minutes, the speed boost, I think, is gone. So that it'll be even easier at that point from 14 minutes on for the mid laner to clear their wave and roam. And also, just if they're sticking in lane, get experience quicker than the other lanes are. So this is kind of a buff for mid laners in general, and especially for roamers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So there's kind of the tactical change that we're seeing on 1422. Be prepared for more roams from mid lane.
I don't know how.
If you're just trying to mind your own business in bot lane, enjoy having 4 people or 5 people with a teleport coming at you.
I don't know how they could make mid lane more roam heavy. That's like literally all mid lane is about in like the modern era, is just pushing out and roaming. The last dozen or so games I've played mid, it's almost hilarious. You have like top lane, which is hyper aggressive. People will literally just auto attack check you at like level 1, and then you got mid lane.
Oh my god, yeah, like the Teemo versus Riven matchup.
And no, anything. It doesn't even matter if it's bad at level 1. People will just auto attack, like check you, essentially DPS race you at like level 1. That's how hyper aggressive top lane is. And then it's like the polar opposite mid lane, where all they care about is roaming, because they know the second they don't roam, they're just going to get flamed every fucking game.
That's true, although you do really kind of lose a lot with an unsuccessful roam as well. It's not just the plays, but it's the fact that unless you're pushing the wave, roaming, and managing your time perfectly, and nothing unexpected happens, like the jungler showing up. You can miss waves mid, and then you're behind a level or two. The other team gets 6 first, and it can go downhill from there. So there's always risk and reward to roaming from mid. It really depends on the chat that you have and the flow of the game.
Well, that's the thing. The only things that go mid these days are the things that can just push with like one ability, like Echo or like Morgana or like Talon or like a Yone and Yasuo push super fast. Yeah. Plus they just keep making it faster and faster to like farm and stuff.
I tend to like roaming when I can, if I see that that top or bot is like really pushing in towards my team, and that it's going to be easy to just wrap around. Even if I don't even take the best path, I can just walk up and kill the person who is half health from auto checking at level 1. But yeah, beyond level 6, I'll do a lot more roaming.
This guy plays mid lane like twice a year.
I mean, I played it like 5 times yesterday.
All right, next up, we got the champion changes, and then we got the new
good roams, I'll have you know.
The new champ, which we'll do last, and make sure you right click on her name and open her page specific thing.
Okay,
and then
we'll do that.
We'll do that last like we do with the other stuff.
Yep.
First up, we've got Aatrox, and we've got less bonus damage when his ultimate is active. Of course, that does extend on takedowns and stuff. Not much of a nerf. I don't really think you'll really feel it that much with kind of how he operates in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a little bit of AD. Obviously, it's going to, affect all of his skills that scale off of AD as well. But it's a pretty small amount. Like, if you're still getting 40% and you're doing well, it's not going to hurt you too much that you're not getting 45. I don't think there's too much to be said here. I'm a little bit surprised that Aatrox is considered really strong right now. I do see him succeed a lot, but...
if you say so.
Right.
All right, next up, we've got Anivia. Scroll all the way down here. We've got a little bit of less armor, and then a big nerf on kind of her primary damage ability, her E, which does double damage to targets that are frozen or chilled or whatever. Be honest, if she was going to get a nerf, this is probably not where she could stand to get one, because she kind of needs this ability to be like especially potent, or she kind of has no burst.
Is the Q?
No, her Q is the ball that goes real slow and stuns you. Frostbite is the little ice thing she chucks at you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
This is her E.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, like I think the DOT kind of items, Leandri's, the not the Shadow Flame. What's the other one that deals damage as soon as you hit the enemy for a
Black
couple seconds?
Blackfire Torch.
Yes, the torch. Those are honestly some of the better mage items right now, I feel like. Given how much stuff like Storm Surge and Ludens have been nerfed. So I think that champs like a Nevia who can just kind of like put out the zone from a long distance and take off 15% of your HP by clipping you are in a good state right now, at least as far as mages go. So I can kind of understand why she's being nerfed a little bit. This really isn't too bad. She's a very safe champion. I don't think the armor growth is going to hurt too much. This is actually a champ that I haven't really played since probably like season like 3, 4. When I was first learning the game, I played her a fair bit, and I really kind of just dropped her and never picked her back up. I want to relearn her.
She used to be one of my favorites a long time ago.
Just stick him in the zone, and as soon as they try to get away, whoa!
Well, her ultimate was better the first several years she was in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like the items for it now are so much better.
Yeah, probably. Next up, we've got Blitzcrank, and now it's this was actually stronger for the first time in like 14 years. Now, for the first time in 14 years, it's actually going to do less than his total AD.
No, it looks like they're increasing it.
Oh, my bad. So it was nerfed for the first time in 14 years.
Yeah, it was nerfed recently. We were both kind of pissed about that. This was like maybe a year or two ago. It got nerfed. I remember we were both so disappointed. And 100% of your total AD. Let's be real. Blitzcrank AD damage is not going to be doing a lot once you're beyond 6. But in those first few levels, this will make it easier to get the kill in lane.
Yep. So this is actually just a revert because it historically always did 100% of his AD. Alright, let's skip to something interesting. Let's...
Briar more base health, nice, but I don't think a huge deal.
Let's go down to Fizz.
Oh my god, we're just skipping all these guys?
It's just a bunch of dumb shit.
That's 10 less AD for Corki at level 18.
Yeah. He's
okay,
already
fine.
fucked. Alright, we got...
That moment when you realize that Chris has just given up on League.
These stat changes, I don't think there's that much interesting stuff to do unless he's losing like 30 AD at 18. Which they'll just probably take away 30 from every champion at the beginning of next season. So
yeah, right. Durability update.
They'll give every champion will lose 30 base AD, and then they'll just make a mastery or rune or keystone that just gives everyone 30 at 18.
Yeah, freaking Fizz getting the AP buffs. Didn't we recently applaud the AP nerfs that they gave him? Trident or something. And fuck this.
I don't remember him getting a nerf, but he definitely still has like the 100 to 0 potential he's always had. Yeah. And there's a reason his Q has like a really weak AP ratio, and that's because he always uses Lich Bane. So
nobody likes playing against this guy.
Yeah, I always make fun of one of my friends who plays a shitload of Fizz because he's such an uninteractable champ for the most part.
Yeah, and he takes some level of skill to play. I don't want to take that away from Fizz players.
Not really.
He does. You have to figure out your pathing really well in terms of when you're going to use the W. You've obviously got to hit the ult, which is more than you can say for some champions. Cassante. But yeah, no, I think he requires a moderate amount of skill. He's not Zed, but he's not Nasus either.
I think Nasus is harder to play than Fizz.
He's just so frustrating to play against Fizz.
Yep. So the burst component on his W went up by 5% and his Q went up by 10%. Both of those are pretty powerful.
Maybe part of the reason for this is just that they did recently nerf several of the kind of AP assassin burst items, so maybe he's struggling as a result of that.
Perhaps. All right. Let's see. We got 3 less damage from Malawi.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the more impactful changes because that goes into her tentacles
Yeah,
and
and less
stuff.
mana growth means it's going to be harder to kind of like use the skills to harass and land. Like she is a champ that can struggle on mana early.
Yeah, and to Alawi, the laning phase is everything. She has very little presence outside of the laning phase.
Oh, if she gets strong, she puts a lot of presence on later. You know, she can 1v3 very easily. But she needs to
Not
do well
really.
in that laning phase. Yeah.
She's worse the later the game goes because her combo never becomes any faster, and like incoming damage becomes
You got to play
a
with
lot
some good
faster.
allows. Like
I
you got.
used to play the champion for a long time. That's how I know bullshit she
Well,
is.
then you should become a good Alawi.
Oh,
Because, yeah, she can be an absolute terror in the mid and late game if she
she's
gets
not.
ahead in landing. It's important that she does.
She can be good in the late game. She can be good in the mid game. She's never good in the late game.
That's just not true at
It's
all.
because
I
of the
mean,
range. Dude, if you're bad against Alawi, it's literally a retard checkbox. That's the only way she's good in the late game. Everyone knows how to
if you're
play
going
around Alawi.
into 4 or 5, even 3, but definitely 4 or 5 melees, like, all she does is pull someone's spirit as the whole team goes in on her. And, you know, she makes Nasus look weak. The way that she just, like, shreds everyone and doesn't die.
You just proved my point. I just said she's a retard checkbox champion. If she kills
I mean,
you, you're a retard.
champion. She's a counterpick champion, is what she is. If you see a lot of melees on the other team, you pick her, and they can't stop you.
All you have to do to stop her is just deny the fight,
Uh,
essentially.
we talk about this is, you know, maybe not a super impactful change, but an interesting one with Aurelia.
Yeah, this is just another split push nonsense buff here.
That's fair.
That's
yeah.
really all it ever is.
That's fair.
And by keeping the duration up at all times, now anyone that comes to stop her, she's already got the magic damage up on her passive. So, yeah, this just feels pretty silly, honestly, but
I really wish they'd make the turrets more durable.
she's become a lot less popular like the last year or so,
Mm-hmm.
probably want to just give her some action, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much like every top laner that people play at this point have some type of like ridiculous damage bonus against turrets.
Yep. I definitely don't like that.
Usually you see Aurelia mid when you actually do see her. So I don't know if they're trying to push her to top or just give her that split push style from mid. You know, you could do a 1-3-1 and have a really good split push going.
Alright, next up we've got Jax. We've got a higher cooldown on his crappy ultimate, and then less base damage on the ultimate, the burst portion at the very beginning. That is not the on-hit damage.
Yeah, the ultimate is not exactly like the most important part of Jax's kit. This is not a terrible place for him to lose power, but you know, it does kind of suck given that I don't think you see a lot of Jaxes succeed right now anyway.
No, there's really only one kind of person that plays Jax, and it's basically like the cousin of the guy that plays Trendemir, basically.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the cousin of Jeffrey Epstein. That's what people say about Jax players.
I never heard that connection before, but
Yeah, I've heard multiple people talk about the only people who play Jax are, you know.
I
don't know why they say that, but
I wouldn't even give him that much credit.
I think there were like a couple of like really famous Jax players that were put away for things that we don't want to talk about on a podcast.
Okay. I would have definitely given that to Vayne players.
Really, Vayne players?
Vayne
players are just the ones that you know, like sit at home and cry about themselves.
Vayne players were like, and maybe Riven. Vayne players were like the first stereotype of like a player associated with like one champion personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Vayne players were the ones who were like so full of themselves, didn't know how to do anything in the game, you know, lashed out at their team for their own mistakes. But you know what? Like as soon as they introduced Kai'Sa out of the game, all the Vayne players who were like that started playing Kai'Sa instead. And like now, most of the people who play Vayne are still not good at the game, but they're cool people.
All right, next up we've got K'Sante, and we got less damage on his Q, and then a higher dash speed on his W.
Uh-huh.
Not much
Um,
to say about this. Although you
I'm just
definitely can't
impressed they
nerf his...
managed to get Desante on the patch notes with that 341 changes.
Probably needs his Q and his passive kind of untouched, because that's like his entire trading pattern.
When was the last time they left anything untouched with this guy?
I'm just saying it's kind of the most important part of his kit.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. But man, that's uh, I'm sure we'll talk about Cassante a lot more in the future. We don't need to retread this, but it's just one of the most problematic champs I think they've ever introduced. It's on like the Yumi level.
I wouldn't go that far. Alright, next up we've got... I guess just a bunch of things with Caston. His Q not silencing people essentially properly.
Yeah, this is all bug fixes, but some of these I guess are worth noting. That yeah, it was interrupting some people's non-channeled spells when it wasn't supposed to, and it was interrupting. It was not interrupting certain channeled spells, like your boy Shen Stan United. You can now just break that with a null sphere.
Neat. Kind of already assumed he could
I
do
don't see
that though.
Karthus on here. I guess maybe it was correctly interrupting it already.
It was probably correctly interrupting
Oh,
all of
wait a
these.
minute. Karthus is, if he's not dead, gets interrupted by any damage, right?
Karthus's? No.
Oh, okay. So I guess maybe it was just working properly then.
It was probably working correctly on all of these, just not all the time.
I think so.
Yeah.
Have you ever had Stan United stopped by a null sphere?
Well, you don't see Caston in top very often, so no.
Okay.
To be honest, Caston never uses... Since they took the silence off of his Q, you never really... You only use your Q for damage. No one really uses it to interrupt shit.
Yeah, I mean, a good player would. You know, if they see Culling going out or something, no, that they'll use the Q. At
Yeah,
least now they will that it works correctly.
except you'll just be forced to use the Q before that because you have to all in as Caston or you die. There's just it's not a very... It doesn't really make a ton of sense.
I don't agree with you on that.
Damage on it's shit anyway, and they just nerfed it again. So, whatever.
All right, beyond the bug fixes, we've got Katarina with some nice cooldown buffs here. Got 2 seconds less at rank 1 on Shunpo, and 15 seconds less at level 6 rank 1 on her ultimate. In
Yeah,
the end game, the same cooldown she had now, but I think these are pretty big. What do you think?
I actually don't think they really mean anything, and that's just by nature of how our
Really?
passive functions.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, the slightly being more flexible early on with Shunpo is like nice, but it's all just a function of her picking up the daggers. So, giving it a shorter or less cooldown is kind of not
Oh yeah,
exactly
it's
significant.
yeah. When she picks up the dagger, it's a percentage cooldown on Shunpo, right? Not a an absolute.
It
Yeah. So
scales with her level.
if you're buffing the cooldown, then you're getting less seconds off from this percentage, which was getting close to 100% anyway.
It scales up
So
to
yeah,
100.
you're making a good point. You're making a good point. But I think even just the quicker cooldowns on her ultimate is pretty big.
The amount refunded on Shunpo when she picks up a dagger scales throughout the game from like 40 to 100%.
Yeah, it looks like it's 78
Something.
to 96. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay. Well, eventually gets to almost 100.
Yeah, but even at level 1, it's almost 80%. So really, this is only going to help a lot when you are not able to go and pick up a dagger if you're running away or something like that, or if it just lands in a bad place.
Yep. Alright,
Yeah.
next up, we've got a buff to Kale's passive. And this is actually a revert, I believe, of a nerf she got a year or so ago to give her less attack speed. So now she's back to just getting 1% per 100. fact, it might have even been 2% per 100 at one point. Oh well,
Yeah.
this thing stacks up to like 5, 6, 7 times or something.
My browser just crapped out on me, so I'm reloading the page. But here we go. It's Cal, right? Bonus attack speed per stack increased. Okay, so yeah, this is. I mean, you know, Cal can build up a few hundred AP. This is going to be worth a few percent of bonus attack speed throughout the game. Nice to see. I think she got a pretty big buff on her mana costs patch or two ago, right? On the W.
Yeah, that was long overdue. It's like a throwback
Yeah.
from like 2009.
I'd say the games tend to be a little bit quicker than they usually are recently. You know, they're not necessarily super snowbally, but they tend to end very decisively. A little bit earlier than maybe they did in the past. So Kale, who takes a long time to scale up to level 16, even a reasonably long time to scale up to 11, where she can really start to become a champion.
Yep.
You know, would be struggling. Also, she doesn't have bonus split push bonuses against turrets, so of course she can't play.
Also, when she gets to 16,
Uh-huh.
this just stays at permanent stacks. So, that's cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Alright, next up we've got Lilia, we've got less armor, and we got less healing in the jungle.
She has been nerfed so many times this season. And she was an awesome champion. Every time she got nerfed, I'm like, she's still very good. She's still good. She's still decent. I think she's actually like being nerfed to the point now where you know, it's just been like all these tiny little shanks, these tiny little like paper cuts over and over again, to the point where, I mean, if you're a good Lilia, you'll still probably be able to have some impact, but I don't think she's a good champ anymore. Really fun.
I mean, it's still, as long as her passive is still fairly strong, and they haven't touched her Q, I think she'll still be very...
They nerfed the passive a bunch, though.
It still does a lot.
It still does some, yeah, but like she is just a shadow of what she was at the beginning of this season. I really like this champ. It's sad to see it every time she gets nerfed. I love having a Lilia on my team. I can't play her for beans, but I love having a Lilia on my team.
Yeah, she has her moments. She's not like my preferred jungler, to be honest, though. But she's way better. Way better than a lot.
Have like a Sejuani or something.
Yeah, something like that. I would definitely take Lilia over a lot of other goofy shit, though. That's for sure.
She's so disruptive. You know, she has such a high cap on you know, her value during a fight if she can keep laying damage on without getting caught. And honestly, like a sneaky, really good ganker as well, just based on the speed she can build up. A great diver.
Getting back to the changes, though, with how goofily strong the jungle items are now, I don't even think you'll really notice this nerf.
Yeah, probably this one in particular isn't as bad as some of the other ones have been. Losing armor hurts because she is the type of champ that needs to get in, take a couple hits, get out, get back in, and do that a few times in a fight to be successful. I think that if you can spike her down, and she's not able to kind of heal the health back up, she loses a lot of impact. So I agree with you that the heal against monsters is only going to make it a little bit harder for her to actually kind of clear the jungle and gank at high health. I think the armor growth is the bigger story here.
Alright, next up we've got Maokai. We've got more health, 5 more movement speed.
Movement speed is significant in this game.
Yep. And then we got, let's see, faster saplings in the late game.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. That's annoying.
And that's about do it for Maokai.
It no longer scales with the movement speed on his boots. Okay, so it's actually, if it's based on level, and it looks like they maxed it at level 13, I'm doing the little hover over the tooltip. Honestly, I would say like the saplings are actually getting slightly nerfed here. Because usually you can get your level 2 boots way before level 13. However, Maokai being faster, I think, is really significant for making catches, making engages, and even just getting away after he's done his tank job. This is a buff to Mao, but I think they actually slightly nerfed his saplings here, which is great. I applaud this.
This is, to me, this all just feels like nonsense. If they want to help him, they need to buff his passive and buff his Q, so he
It
can
would be nice
trade
if
and
they
he
gave
can
him
actually
another
hang in a
2%
lane
health.
again.
It would be
So,
nice if they gave him like another 2% health on his passive.
yep.
There was a while it was 14%.
Yeah, before that durability update or that update that nerfed like
Yeah.
every sustain in the game, it was good.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Mordekaiser, and we've got a big damage nerf to his E, but it's more or less kind of inconsequential. Honestly, no matter how, even if this didn't do any damage, I don't think it would affect Mordekaiser very much.
Yeah, obviously he's getting more damage from his bonk and from the storm around him. But, 20% AP on any skill that he's going to be using consistently in a fight, is a very real thing. Him versus, like, another, like, equally fed champ, this is going to make the dueling harder. And I like to see it.
Yep. Okay, what do we got next? We've got...
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. More nerfs to Poppy? Are you kidding me?
Yep, we got 4 less AD.
Oh, my God.
Which is a
And that's
lot.
actually really important, because the one time she can be really impactful was right at the beginning of the game when she could just, duel anybody down. That 4 bait. Oh, come on, man. More attack speed. That doesn't really matter that much, does it?
Yeah. That's kind of sad.
She's not going to auto-attack you to death. That's not her point. Oh, my God. Give me a break, Rito. I have no words for this. Like, ugh. Just let's move on.
Yeah, if they're gonna hurt her like this, they should just put more built-in health shred on her Q, so it doesn't really matter what her stats are.
Why don't they just be honest and just like delete her from the game and say we just wanted you to play Cassante instead.
And if they really want to do right by her, they need to
Uh-huh.
just make her Q apply on-hit effects again. That would really help her, because then you would get the health shred and be able to use like Sheen items at the
They
same
need to
time
give
with
her
your
like a
Q.
Maokai passive if they wanted to do right by her. Like she used to have like twice as much damage as she does now, and she could actually be kind of impactful throughout most of the game.
Oh, she used to have like 10 times as much damage as she does now.
Hmm.
People used to build her as an AP assassin in the old days, remember?
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about the diplomatic immunity days. I'm talking about like right after her big rework.
Oh.
And she could just duel like anybody early on and still be a little bit of a force late game. Now she's just in such a sad place. I'm sure there's some type of like one pro player that figured out how to like bust her or something and no one else can do it, and they just decided we're gonna nerf her over and over. But really, like, there's absolutely no reason to play Poppy right now if Cassante is available. There's just none. He does everything she can do so much better, and he's so much tankier than she is. This is just sad, man. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Let's talk about Rumble. More health. Yay.
Yeah, now let's talk about Seraphine.
Alright.
We've got 10% on her E. This is the line slow
This is
that
Q,
snares
this is
and then
Q.
chuns.
This is the Q.
Oh, you're right. That's beat droppers, beat
Yeah,
dance or
this is
something.
the,
My dad, I
yeah,
forgot
this
that
is
was
the
called.
circle that she shoots out, and then two of them happen if.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
It's
Okay, well,
passive.
I wouldn't have cared if this was her E. I wouldn't have cared, but you can't nerf Seraphine's Q. It's kind of what keeps her relevant a lot
This
of
is
the
a
time.
significant amount of damage. Obviously, she still brings the utility to the team. She still has her ultimate. I don't think that she's trash, but this is a significant nerf. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, when you got like the double Q, this did like almost 200% of her like AP.
You know what's interesting? In the last several patches, they've done almost exclusively nerfs to champs. We've had very few buffs in general.
You're telling me. Good thing I don't play that much anymore.
Yeah, you sometimes notice that when they're kind of in the world's face. Although I can't imagine that that Worlds is going to be played on this patch. I mean, we're already in almost mid-November.
World's already finished.
Oh, it's done?
Yeah, Faker
Wow.
Faker won again like last week.
Hey, good for him, man. Good for him.
Faker was playing too much Poppy and Seraphine.
I stopped following the pro scene a couple of years after they switched to franchising. It just took all the magic out of it.
I stopped watching about 10 years before that.
Oh my god. Man, you were watching when TSM was still good.
I was watching when the people that talked about the game were like adults instead of drooling idiot like retards off the dregs of Twitch.
So. Oh, please. Please, the shoutcasters are good.
No. Okay, next up, we've got Shen.
Good boy.
It's a dark day for Shen. Speaking of, thank God I don't play that much anymore.
Uh-huh.
And what did we get out of this? Well, his passive, which he really needs to trade effectively since he has no longer any range damage anymore after his rework. This is kind of the good thing he got out of his rework, is the ability to like have an on-demand shield very fast all the time. One more second, and then we get slightly more refund in the last game when he hits people with his taunt or when his Q goes through enemy champions. And you won't notice these changes, you won't even notice in the late game. And then his ultimate took a big hit on the base numbers later on in the game, and it's just going to make for less ridiculous shields, because basically Shen is forced into building Heartsteel, or you're just not scaling.
Yeah, this kind of sucks. I've noticed the damage in the late game is such these days that a level 16 Stand United, against a target that gets picked out late game, Shen's not even gonna get there in time as it is now. They're just gonna burst through that shield and burst through the champion's health bar so fast that for them to just nerf the shield even further seems a little irresponsible.
I know. What's depressing about this is now basically the fact I run like Guardian, Revitalize, Redemption, and Moonstone. A lot of that's negated essentially by these nerfs. I still think that what I run is still net more powerful, but yeah, this definitely takes a lot of the oomph out of running Guardian on top lane Shen, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're getting a much bigger, you're getting a percentage of a much smaller shield. In addition to the smaller shields, meaning that you're losing hundreds and hundreds of points as a result of this nerf in the base number.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Moonstone is beyond fucking broken on Shen. It's hilarious.
I do like kind of the I do like that aspect of the state of the game where you can survive several hits, kind of early and mid game, and when you get to the late game, a lot of champions will explode in a few hits. I think they've gone a little bit overboard in terms of even the tanks will explode in a few hits now.
Yep.
Yeah, I do kind of like that dynamic in the game, but when you have that, I think that, I think that a champ like Shen should be one of those champs that can break that and actually make it so that one of his allies will be able to survive more than a couple late game hits from a fed burst mage or AD carry.
Oh, that's why I do what I do. Those 4K shields are just hilarious in the late game.
Yeah, well, enjoy your 2K shields now.
Nah, probably like 3.5.
I know what you mean.
Moonstone's too broken to stop now.
It's just Daedalus.
Okay, next up...
Go on.
We got post mini rework tweak Swain here. We've got more damage. Yeah, tweak. We got more base damage on the Q. You were saying how you thought it was a net negative what they did to his Q last time. Then we got a lower cooldown on Never Move, which they literally just made it way easier to use. I don't know, they acted like there was some grand design, cosmic decision-making that went behind Never Move. All they did was make it much faster, much more consistent, much harder to react to. It's really just that simple. And then the coolest buff of all, the health scaling on his ultimate heal is gone up. Even if it's just 0.25%, that is secretly a stank nasty buff. I've been milking that health ratio ever since they reworked it, man. Let me tell you.
Especially with the shards that you get, like it's nice to
Mm,
have this health ratio. I explained last time why it's not a huge deal. Like the numbers really aren't that big,
it is a huge deal.
but it's certainly nice.
Like, for instance, when Scion kills something, he gets like 2 HP. When he
Hmm.
kills a big minion or monster, he gets 8 HP. And when he kills champions, he gets 20. Every
Okay.
time Swain does anything, he gets 12 HP. So on average, he's just raking in way more of like these bonus stats for free.
Yeah, but again, even at a couple thousand extra bonus health, and Swain is not Scion who can just build all HP. He has to build some AP as well.
Not a lot.
Even if you have a couple thousand bonus health, 1.25% of your bonus health is 25 HP per second, which is nothing in the late game, and 1.5% of your bonus health is, I think, 30 HP,
Yes,
which is still nothing in the late game.
yes, but you're not taking into account that you can
Uh,
drain from up to 5 enemy champions at once.
I
So
suppose
you
so,
need
but
to triple this,
even a
quadruple this
hundred even
potentially.
100 health per second, if you're getting, let's say, 4 enemy champions, which is, a pretty ideal scenario, it is not going to save you from the Tristana hitting you 3 times per second with a 650 HP on hit rocket. Like,
You're right. Those late game AD carries are like
yeah,
his kryptonite. You're
yeah,
absolutely right. But he doesn't have to be able to beat them. He just has to be so annoying for so long that his everyone behind him on his team
hmm,
deals with the other threats, and he wastes enough of the other enemy carries time to where he ends up winning regardless of what happens to him ultimately. And that's kind
yeah.
of the big thing about Swain, how he just warps the fight like that.
I do think it's interesting that he's getting buffed here. I've seen a lot of Swain on the Rift since last patch, and I'm gonna assume that it's a lot of people just like wanting to try him without really having gotten experience with him, and maybe making his win rate look weak that way.
Yeah,
Because I've seen good Swains dominate games. Overall, I'd say he's probably like a fairly balanced champ after his rework, and might be a little too strong after this. Once like the bad Swain players shake back out and say, okay, this champ's not for me, he's probably going to have his win rates go up and have to be nerfed a little bit.
yeah, the changes to Swain are one of the more head scratching things I've seen in the last 2 years. Maybe
They
I'm
felt
just in the
unnecessary.
mind. I mean, I'm sure we talked about this when he got these changes. I
Yeah,
personally think he was in a very balanced and still strong position, the state that he
me
was
too.
in right before
Me
this
too.
rework. And they literally, this is no rework. This is just a blanket buff across the board on all his shit, basically. This is so
Yeah.
silly.
No. They definitely nerfed some stuff last time. I think maybe even
Yeah,
without even realizing how much they were nerfing.
they nerfed
But
the slow on his W. That's like what they nerfed.
the
Is
Q, the change from AP to bonus health.
No, it's
But
still
anyway,
no. His ultimate still scales with AP. They just added a health ratio.
I think it scales less with AP now, doesn't it?
Less, but not so much less that
Yeah.
it's anywhere near like negated.
I went through the numbers last time. I think it actually was kind of a downside. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you that it was a little head scratching in the sense that it seemed unnecessary. He was in a pretty good place, but I
Yeah.
think like the new Swain as he looks, post this little mini rework is also like a good, fun, pretty balanced champ, right?
Yes, I still think he's balanced because they did
Yeah,
lower the damage on his Shadow Flame, his Kablooey thing, and then
yeah.
they made it so you could go Kablooey every 8 seconds, which was also hilariously silly.
It is weird that they're spending like so much time on something like this, though. When they still haven't completed their Shyvana rework.
To me, this is just as stupid as the Corki rework. All right,
I think
next up
they're
we've
fine
got.
job here.
Let's hell with that. Next up, we've got Syndra. We've got less base damage and less AP on her W. What do you think about this?
This is surprising to me. Every time I see Syndra in games, she fails.
This is kind of the awkward of her three abilities that it's kind of slow. You think of her as like the QE combo.
Uh
The
huh.
W is kind of always tends to miss the mark a lot of the time.
Yeah, if she hits it, obviously it makes the E a lot easier to land because not only are you repositioning the W, but I think you're slowing down the enemy that you hit, right? Yeah. I mean, this can be a very useful skill for her. But yeah, this is the least important place to lose power. It's just I'm surprised because every time I see a Syndra in my games, my team, their team, even if I'm playing against them as a mid laner, it just never works out for the Syndra.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have much of an opinion. I will say that the several times I last play her, she does feel like kind of underwhelming.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. It takes too long to become significant, and even once she has, like, there's just so many champs that can close the distance and spike her. I think she's a champ that's struggling, and I'm really surprised that they had some type of data that said we need to nerf her.
Yep. Next up, speaking of nerfs, we've got some small nerfs to Phoenix form. Ooters are essentially for the Phoenix boys out there. Your boy Chrissy always will and has been be a Tiger boy. But for the low effort Phoenix boys out there, and I'm telling you, only the low effort Ooters are the R Phoenix boys. So this is definitely for the low effort clowns out there.
You've been called out, our Max Udyr players.
It was true even before his rework. The R Ooters were the low effort people.
Calling them out. Wow.
Yeah, so we got
Um,
less base damage, and might I just
uh,
say, when he was first reworked, his Phoenix mode was absolutely disgusting. The base damage was absolutely fucking crazy. If anything, this probably just puts it back in line to where it was before his rework. Not
yeah.
much to say,
However,
it's just some damage nerfs.
they are giving you more monster damage. It looks like.
Eh, sure.
So, Udyr, who can be a jungle clear monster, can actually clear those monsters quicker now, with the Armax.
Oh,
So even though he
yay.
may not be able to fight as well and gank as well, this could make him a jungle clear machine, get him ahead in experience, and run at you with the tiger and the bear form.
Uh, if you're going Phoenix, you don't want to waste any points in Tiger and vice versa. There's the build you go for both builds kind of make it
Mhm.
vastly inefficient to put even 1 point in the other one.
You gotta rank it once so that you can get the stun.
That's Bear. What I mean is if you're Phoenix, you
Yeah.
don't need to put any in Tiger, and if you're Tiger, you don't want to waste any points in Phoenix.
Gotcha.
Because the way he is, instead of having no, because he has no ultimate, he can put
Uh-huh.
6 instead of 5 skill points in all of his abilities, which means you don't have to put any points in any Phoenix or Tiger if you don't want to.
Yeah. All right. Good point. Good point.
Alright, next up we've got Varus, and this is getting to Lee Sin levels of silliness. This has been changed up and down at least 10 times in just the last 5 years. And mind you, Varus is like a season 3 or 4 champ, so extra silly or something.
I think they did take away a bunch of damage from this skill when they gave him that little mini rework several patches ago, didn't they?
I mean, if they did, they just counteracted it like the last 10 changes anyway, so
Yeah. Okay, so three more base on hit damage when your W's active.
yeah.
I think the biggest story with Varus is just like if he fully charges that Q when when you're just like running away or got a little bit distance from him or he's behind a wall, like he can like 40 to 0 you. And that's pretty. That's always pretty shocking to see.
I mean, yeah, if you're like going the
Yeah.
goof, if you're going like the lethality build, I guess.
Some people, even without lethality, if you have enough like stats in there, but yeah, especially with the lethality builds.
Personally, I think the lethality build is his worst build because it just
Certainly, recently it has been, yeah.
makes him basically limited as Nidalee or Jace. Kind of the
Hmm.
same kind of theory.
I get what you mean, yeah. Although, in fairness, Jace has never been in a better spot than he is now. He only kind of sucks.
I remember he was quite dominant when he first came out.
What was that, season 2?
No, he was the 100th champion, so
What was that, season 2?
No, 4 or 5, I think. That was back when you could play things like Riven up there and stuff, though.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember those discs.
I haven't
All
seen.
right.
I've seen like one Riven top in like the last 5 years. Okay, next up we've got Vayne. We were talking some shit about Vayne, and now we've got even more flat damage on Final Hour, and this also can double its duration if she gets at least 2 takedowns.
10 extra AD at all ranks is what you're getting from Final Hour this patch. So 35 at level 6, 65 at level 16, where she is an absolute terror if she can make it to that point in the game.
Yep, just like Twitch's Spray and Pray, this also started really pathetic in the early years of the game. If I'm not mistaken, it was something like 5 to 20. And then over the years, both of them have been buffed consistently to the point that now they're like full items worth of stats now.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Vayne is a pretty weak champion early on. And
purposely.
Yeah, I really like rewarding her for getting to that end game. She's not as absolutely game altering in the late game as someone like Aurelion Sol, but she is a real threat, and I think that's a good balance for a champ like her.
I think she will and always has been the best AD carry in the late game.
I think that was probably true a long way back. I think that now that you have champs like Kai'Sa,
nope.
Even Smolder, I would say, has a claim to maybe being the best late game.
You can't argue Smolder because he scales infinitely, so that's not fair.
Obviously, even though of course it's fair, right? He's an AD carry who's great in the late game. I'm not saying picture him with infinite stacks. I'm saying picture him with a realistic number of late game stacks. I'd probably take him over Vayne.
He just never has the attack speed to be as good as the other hyper carries.
Yeah, the thing is, though, he has much, much more range than Vayne, and only needs to hit you a couple times, whereas Vayne, has a very high attack speed, but needs to stay within range to hit you several times. It's a lot easier to spike Vayne in the late game than it is to hit to knock down Smolder.
Not when she's invisible every other second. Makes it kind of tough.
That's kind of like the really cool thing about her, right? But there's also a lot of ways to make her not invisible.
How?
Igniter.
Igniter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Igniter, put a Lulu E on her, a pink ward even.
A pink ward, huh?
Yeah, red ward, what do you want to call it?
I don't think those reveal her type of stealth anymore.
Not if you put it down after she stealths.
They took that out of the game a long time ago.
Might be right, but hey, Quirky Q, you think Quirky sucks so much now?
I'm not sure that's true sight. I think it's just vision.
I thought that I know that they Pix is true sight, but I think the phosphorus bomb is also true sight. Anyway, yeah, very, very good late game champ. I still think it's probably I'd probably take a Kai'Sa or a Smolder over her late game. But I think it's reasonable to say Vayne might be the best late game carry. I think it's certainly reasonable.
I think is one good argument because you don't have to have a great player playing it because the max health true damage is so preposterously broken that anyone with half a brain can put in an insane amount of DPS with basically
nobody plays tanks anymore.
No mechanics. Doesn't matter. I mean, of course she makes tanks look silly, but she's doing the same amount of like max health true damage to someone with 1,000 health.
She is, but if if the tankiest thing in the game is Sylas, that's someone that can lock her down and kill her before she can respond.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. There's lots of different ways to look at this game, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. I think there's absolutely a case to be made, like you're making, for Vayne being the ultimate late game carry. But I think it's not like it's so obvious that it's automatic. Again, I'd probably put about 2 champs above her, and that's what's so interesting about this game, right? Even really good players, you're going to see things in different ways, and then there's also me.
Okay. Next up, we've got Vel'Koz. We've got a reduced cooldown on his W. This is his, or his E, my bad. This is his knock-up that slightly knocks people away from him also. I honestly think this has been long overdue. This probably should have been on a lower cooldown much earlier in his life cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about much earlier. I think he used to be a very good champ, and in the last few seasons he's been a victim of mobility creep. And so now he struggles, and it's nice to see him get some buffs. I think that in particular the lower cooldown on his E, because Vel'Koz is a champ that you want to build a lot of cooldown reduction on, or ability haste. I think that this lower cooldown, particularly in the early game, because that's where we're getting the the lower ranks is where we're getting the cooldown reduction. I think that this is going to make him a little bit safer. It's going to be on cooldown less when he gets ganked or just misses his first E in a fight and is trying to run away or something.
But would you agree he still has really good 100 to 0 potential?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You play Vel'Koz well. You pick him into the right matchup where you can take advantage of the range and not get closed in and unpunished. Pick him into the right comp. Absolutely, he can still be a good champ, and that 100 to 0 potential, if you get fed, is insane. Absolutely.
At the moment, I'd say he has an easier time bursting people than Syndra.
Yeah, I would say Syndra is one of the worst mid laners in the game right now. I'd say Vel'Koz is slightly below average.
That's fair. Alright, next up we've got Vi, and we got a juicy buff to her passive, which is really nice. This has a pretty low cooldown, comes up when you least expect it. You never know when it's going to come off cooldown. And It's a very nice little buff. My long lost friend Matt, this was like his second or third favorite champion. He would swear up and down every game to take Revitalize with Blast Shield. No one expects it.
That's interesting. I would definitely not go that far, but it is cool. Yeah, Vi, especially with this 14% ratio, is going to be good. I think she's already a fairly good champ. And one of the best design champs they've ever made. They brought her out in Season 3, and they have not given her any mini reworks, any huge changes at all since she's come out. She's been one of the healthiest champs in the game. Always very fun to play. Kind of fun to play against. And really kind of any build from AD focused bruiser to pretty tanky. All kind of work with Vi. She's kind of like the Jarvan that no matter what the meta is, you can kind of build her anywhere on that scale.
Yeah, a lot of what tributes to that is her W denting blows. It does such consistent max health shred. It's physical but not true. That she can kind of, and it applies not only on her auto attacks, but her Q and her E excessive force. And because of that, her combo is basically always good, even if she's only running a little bit of AD. Which keeps her very flexible in terms of builds.
I've seen times where attack speed was a good build for Vi to proc the W a lot. I don't really think she's in that state right now, right? I think you want mostly AD and tankiness. But yeah, like you said, there are lots of different ways. You don't need attack speed to proc the denting blows.
Well, if she triggers denting blows one time, it actually gives her bonus attack speed also.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. But I think these days she doesn't build much attack speed. She just kind of gets it from the W. Whereas there have been times in the past where I think her build did lend itself to building attack speed specifically.
Yep, I'm ashamed to say Vi is one of the few champs I never really put a lot of time into. She never really interested me a lot. I kind of just watched my friends play with her, and I'm like, she doesn't seem that much fun to me.
Oh, I think she's very fun. Back when you couldn't select your roles before getting into a queue, Master Yi was my number one jungler because I'm the best.
Degenerate,
yeah. And Vi was my number 2.
All right, back in the 90s.
Man, everything was better in the 90s.
True
don't
that.
Don't give me crap about the 90s.
True that. No, you're absolutely right. I wouldn't argue for a second about that.
Those were some happy times for anybody who didn't live through them.
All right, next up we've got Warwick. There's a lot of shit here, but we're not going to go through it. The gist of it is W got a decent buff, more consistent, a little less attack speed, but you're going to get it more often. The ability is more forgivable. They made him bigger, which is cooler because he should be a scary werewolf. I honestly think, I've actually played this champ a pretty fair amount. He is one of my favorite reworks ever. I always say it goes rework Scion, best rework of all time, and then Warwick, because you got to...
really? Not Poppy?
Poppy was... The thing is, Poppy was still effective before she got reworked. Scion and Warwick were kind of like a meme. Yeah. So, I always say Warwick was the second best rework they ever did. Aurelion Sol has got to be 3 or 4, though, because, man, that was good.
Aurelion, you know what I think about the Aurelion Sol rework.
But anyway, let's get back to it. A good buff here is the lockout of recasting the W. So now you can get that on-demand fear even more unpredictably, where you used to have to wait a little longer. It functions just like Jax's stun. So that's really cool. It might sound silly, but I honestly think the best buff is the fact that now his ultimate has a much wider hitbox. It was so fucking easy to miss people with this that were right in front of your damn face. And the hitbox on this thing was it had to be even thinner than like Corki's ultimate. It was so thin. So I'm so glad that they buffed that.
On the ultimate?
Yeah.
It's saying the actual width is unchanged.
Well, something about it will make it easier to hit people.
I think the cast indicator is just like a visual thing for the person using it.
Well, fuck them then.
Yeah, well,
it still sucked.
The fact that they increased his model size, though, is it possible that will actually make it a little bit easier to hit?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll make it. It'll.
Hard to hit with that,
otherwise,
anyway,
it'll make him actually look even more stupider because he'll be bigger, but still miss people by a larger margin, at least visually. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny if that happens. But of all the things that you mentioned, I'm not sure if you hit it or not. Did you mention that you get the better bonuses for Blood Hunt at the targets at a quarter of their maximum health instead of a fifth?
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest story on that one. Warwick's just a cool champ. I agree with you. I think the rework that they did on him was really cool.
Oh yeah, super good.
And I still like surprises, and I wouldn't say scares. It's not like Rengar sound effects, but really kind of surprises you when he pops out of nowhere and starts clawing you over and over.
I know his current ultimate's so much better than the old one.
Absolutely, yeah.
The old one was just stupid.
The other one was all about just like like cheesing the on hits.
Yeah, or going AP like a goofball.
Yeah. All right, Weasel Woo. What do we got here?
We've got more mana. Probably didn't need that. And then we got a lower cooldown on his W, which is definitely going to add to the stupid antics. I don't think I like these changes. The only saving grace is that they didn't buff the cooldown at rank 5. Otherwise, it would have been otherworldly dumb.
Yeah, he's actually a pretty bad champion in the late game.
Really depends on how you build him. His Q has a lot of assassin potential, you know.
Yeah, it's not that he can't be effective. It's that the burden of execution is too high once people start team fighting.
He's honestly a lot like Jarvan in the
late
game.
So?
Well, yeah, I think both of them they can build tanky and they can be like effective frontliners, but then they both of the players who play him tend to opt into building both of them as if they're playing Talon for the sake of trying to be effective, you know?
Yeah, I mean, his AD ratios are high enough that you can't say that's the wrong way to play him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Zoe, it looks like you can use the Unleash teleport now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Spell Shard, yeah.
I think she used to be able to use teleport early on in her time, and then they took that out, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of cool. Zoe's just a champ that requires a lot of skill, and while she can be really annoying, it's hard for her to get like total kills.
You know, I just realized something. Whenever I look at some of these champions, I think like which one of my friends always fixate on each of these champs, and it just occurred to me almost all of my friends play Zoe.
Interesting.
Personally, I don't like Zoe at all.
Any of them play Zoe well?
Yeah,
Nice.
I always assume she's like a pretty low effort champ though.
No, not really.
She seems very hit or miss.
You got to be really smart about where you're positioning the bubble through walls, and then like just like the Q and R pattern to go through that and not get caught on your way back.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard. And then in addition to that, anybody playing with a watch camera basically isn't going to be able to play Zoe.
I would describe her as like a honorable Nidalee or something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah. Alright, that does it for the champs, at least for now. Next up, we've got some items. Don't really want to go through all of the unending goofy item redux recipe bullshit. Let's go right to opportunity. You don't see this item a ton. If anything, it's like a fourth, fifth last item pickup, even though design-wise it should be like a first item pickup, but there's just too many other better things.
Why? Just because it's lethality?
Because the flat lethality is more potent in the early game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a better snowball item.
So a little bit more AD, no more movement speed, although you still do get the bonus movement speed after a takedown. And
I was hoping you could talk to us about
more lethality to it.
Yeah. Tell us about how much extra lethality the melee people get from this.
They get one more lethality.
Okay.
After being out of combat for 8 seconds.
Oh.
You get one more lethality.
Okay.
This seems like a side grid. I don't have much to say about this.
It did need a buff, so...
I don't think it got a buff here. 5 AD and 1 lethality versus you lose 4% movement speed?
I think it's a buff. I mean, there's other items... There's other items you buy to be sneaky, and then there's items you buy because you need the kill potential, you know?
Like we were saying when Maokai got 5 more movement speed. Not 5%, 5. It's about 2%. Movement speed's a really important stat in this game.
It is, but that's also why you have Youmuu's, you know?
I get you. And then this will get you out. You almost can get you in, this can get you out. I'm not going to agree with you that this is a buff. I think it's probably power neutral. But you could be right. Like, it really does depend what you need from the item.
I'm just glad the age of that Dust Blade that just constantly kept resetting is in the past.
And
that was so stupid.
I actually did not see this. Looks like they're doing something with Static Shiv. Why don't you tell me about it?
Oh, is there a point? Because it's just going to be changed again next patch. Come on. This thing has gotten like a change every patch since it got back into the game.
This is one of the most problematic and cheesy items in the game. So if they're doing something to make it less problematic and less cheesy, I think it's worth discussion.
So it's 200 gold cheaper, still doesn't give crit, cool. And then it has 5 less damage, 5 less attack speed, and now its zappy effect works consistently instead of only on minion or champion death. So it basically restored to its original purpose a decade ago.
Oh, are they making it more cheesy then? This is just a wave clear machine again?
No, it still does the zappy thing on takedowns, but now it's actually a wave clear tool again.
So Electro Spark does less bonus damage, right? And then bounces to one target one time? And then when you kill a minion or monster... Yeah, what is this with Electro Spark, dude?
Basically, it's much weaker, but you can use it much more often. And if you get a takedown, it instantly readies the same effect again, but it's only like 1/4 as strong as it was.
Okay. It's looking almost like when you kill one minion, it unleashes a spark on the wave now, instead of just like you build it up over a few seconds and then you can just clear the whole wave. You actually have to kill one minion now.
Whatever, it'll be changed next patch too.
Yeah. I mean, that is significant, because you can't just delete the wave. You need to actually use a few skills, meaning you need to use your mana. Yeah, I really wish I had seen this before the patch. But anyway, and then the second passive is the takedown that you're talking about.
Yep, this was really cool for like 2 patches, but they decided to cut back on it. Now it never basically has...
270 magic damage is pretty significant, especially if you're building this as a first item.
And the fact that it jumped infinitely, so it could basically trigger itself again. It was pretty cool for a little while there.
Oh, sorry, 270 is the old effect.
Yeah, people were rushing this a lot for a while.
I'm reading this wrong. So what I said about killing a minion was what it was.
Yeah.
And now it's just you get 3 attacks on hit, which chain. Oh, so this is actually just turning it into a completely degenerate wave clear item that's going to cause like top lane LeBlancs to be back in vogue. This sucks.
Well, even when that was a thing, this item had an AP ratio. Lost that a long time ago.
Yeah, this is... I don't know why they did this. I've got nothing. I can't be an apologist for this one.
They just need to fucking put 25 crit back on this thing and call it a day.
Honestly, I think just remove this from the game and call it a day. Or make it so that it only works against champions.
Whatever.
Weird, man. Yeah, this is really weird. So this barely does any damage to champions anymore. It's just wave clear like cheese trash now.
Next up, we got Youmuu's, which gained the movement speed but lost 5 AD. Almost proving my point, I suppose. And then...
oh, yeah, interesting. They put the movement speed on Youmuu's. Okay, fair.
And then we got the Goofy named item that no one buys. It's just been worse every patch since it came out. And let's see. Now instead of just giving you 25 critical strike, like all the other critical strike items, now you gotta work for the stats that every item just gives you as soon as you buy it.
So is that by, that's just by using basic attacks?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how this is in any way good.
Why are we doing this? So you get up to a total of 25% crit, which is what it used to give you. You're getting 10 less attack damage. It's giving you 25% attack speed now, which is kind of nice. So this will be an item that can give you AD, attack speed, and crit. There actually are very few of those in the game left. And then instead of getting a bleed for the critical strikes, now it is giving you bonus attack speed for 4 seconds with a 40-second cooldown. This is a passive, so you don't even get to choose when you proc it. If you attack an enemy champion, it's burned for 40 seconds, reduced by 1 or 2 seconds for every auto attack that you make. I could see this being good on like Tristana or Vayne, who do want to use all 3 of those stats.
Yeah, you might want to pair this up with Lethal Tempo, and there could be some goofy Jhin math at play to make this.
You know what kind of sucks though? Like, I'm not totally sure, but I think this was generally like a 3rd or 4th item. The fact that you now have to actually build this up over 125 basic attacks means that you can't really make this a 4th item, because it's just going to take too long to actually get the critical strike from it. So I don't know if this is honestly going to be useful as a 1st or 2nd item in its current state.
You're absolutely right. What they should have done was have this ultimately give you 50% critical strike chance, and then it could have been your long-term payoff to free up a slot to get something that doesn't have to give crit, so you can still get 100.
Brashwell Brothers would literally never need to build another crit item again.
That would have been... Well, you know, they're melee, so at least they'd have to work for it.
That's fair, although, again, you can use this on the whiff.
Oh, you're right. I thought... I just assumed it was basic attacks against champions, because...
Oh, no, it's any basic attack. You can go into the jungle and, like, murder a few McChickens if you...
What the fuck? What are you bitching about, then? You could get half this stacked up on one minion camp, probably.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, by the time you've got 3 or 4 items, you can't shoot at the minion camp enough times to stack it. The camp will just die so quickly.
Well, then you can just go stand in front of the Baron for like 20 seconds and...
Okay, yeah, you could probably do that.
You can't kill it, so it's like, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
never
or
mind. This is
honestly, like the
just
dragon who's going to do so little damage to you. You
that
could actually
too.
probably stack the whole thing up against like the third or fourth Drake to come out. The
Riot is
Drake's like,
so
"What am I to you, a prop?" And Vane's like, "Yes, yes, you are."
man. Riot is so stupid. I hate this company.
I would not go nearly that far, but I don't necessarily see what's good or fun about this change.
What's the payoff?
The
It's
payoff,
not Rod of Ages. It's
a
like what the.
little bit more attack speed than I used to give you. Um, yeah, I just want to move on to summoner spells.
I'd say no. They should have done my idea, the 50% crit, and then after you max it out, the
Uh-huh.
passive becomes permanent. You just gain the 30% bonus for 4 seconds with no cooldown.
Well, then why do you even say for 4 seconds? It would be
Well, it
permanent. You
just keeps refreshing like Lethal Tempo. You know.
Well, right. So every single attack that you ever made would have that bonus on it, whether
Okay,
you would
then
use
just give it
attack.
55. Fuck.
You would literally just give it 30% more attack speed on the item. It
Okay,
wouldn't be a pass.
55. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's fair too.
Well, that would be probably a way too big ball of stats, but I understand your point. Like the stacking is weird. The passive is even weirder. Like I really actually don't like that you don't get to choose when you're using this. I understand that they don't want to have to make you think about 100 different items where you have to like remember to hit your four button to get the attack speed bonus when you're in combat. But like if you just want to like poke somebody once with Caitlyn or something, you're not intending to keep attacking. This is actually really bad to have proc.
I don't even think Jin could use his final shot fast enough for this.
Yeah. I don't like this rework. I'll just say it outright.
All right, let's talk about some summoner spells. Tell me
Good.
about how Barrier has been overpowered for 10 years.
Barrier just lost 20 shield. I think it's still pretty good numbers at the at the higher levels. Really, at the higher levels, this is a lot more effective than heal is to save you in a fight.
How tone deaf is this change? Like, the only reason to take Barrier is to help you in the early game, essentially.
I disagree with that. I actually completely disagree with that. I think that barrier is really good for mid lane mages in particular.
Well, are small shields more useful in the early game or the late game?
I mean, a small shield is more useful than a small shield in the late game, but 480 and even 460 is nothing to sneeze at, especially if the ADC isn't there to blow you away real quickly. I do think this is still a decent summoner spell. ADCs generally want to use Ghost. Some mid laners would rather use Teleport, but I think Barrier is completely defensible on some champions. If anything, Heal is the one that's been like really underpowered for a while.
If you say so.
And then Smite. It's going to be a lot easier to accidentally smite an enemy champion when you're trying to smite a monster. What's up with this?
So they're saying it's easier to misclick it now?
Yeah, much easier. Before this patch, if you were within 300 units of the Baron, it would prioritize the Baron if there was a champion near it. Now it's only 125 units.
Interesting.
If your cursor is within that many units, not the champion itself. Yeah.
I don't really think I care about this one.
Okay.
Call it a skill issue.
Yeah. Yeah, but man, there's gonna be so much more flame now.
Alright. Let's see. Any of this other crap? Nah.
We can move on to Ambessa, honestly.
Yep, let's do that.
All right.
Alright, shifting over to this page. We've got this new hideous monstrosity.
Wow.
I
how
did
dare
watch
you.
this champion.
She's a queen.
Okay, dog. Oh, that's right. This is an energy champion, which is kind of interesting. We haven't had one of those since Zed. It's been a very
Wow, was
long
Ed really
time.
the last one?
Yep.
Wow.
There was three. Akali, Kennen, and Shen came out one after the other,
Uh-huh.
way back in season one, and then Lee Sin came out about a year and a half later, and then Zed came out like a year and a half after that.
That's amazing.
Yep, it's been a long time. I swore this
I'm glad to
champion
hear
was using mana at some point when I read some stuff. Oh well, this will just
Anyway,
make her
yeah,
more
this is
obnoxious.
a champion that had a pretty prominent role in Arcane, which is really good if you haven't watched it. Second season's coming out today, I believe, or around midnight today.
She's some girl boss, am I right or am I wrong?
No, she's I think you'd actually like her. She is
Yeah, right.
she's she's basically like this. She's almost like a Swain is what I picture her as personality wise from Noxus. You know, basically like a badass that just is willing to use like any tool at her disposal. You know, anything from
Girl
from
boss, got
fighting
it.
to diplomacy to honestly flirting. To
Ugh.
basically get her way. Yeah, I know.
She's no Senna, let me tell you.
But
Okay.
yeah, she's a pretty cool character. But interesting. That I think this is the first time they're bringing a an arcane character to League proper, and pretty good choice. I've played against this champion a bunch in the last couple days. She's interesting. Have you gotten to see her in action yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Alright, first up we've got her passive. It's kind of like a non-ridiculous version of Callista's passive where she can interrupt the animation of her other ability to essentially do a like choppy choppy thing just like Silas kind of that just does damage around her. It's actually a lot like Silas's, yeah.
Yeah, and more importantly, she gets a dash after her abilities as well.
Yep, it's pretty much every energy champion is all about like the combos and executing the combos to restore energy like infinitely. Every one of them has that. That's pretty much all to say about our passive. Okay, next up we got the Q.
Yeah, I think I'll just add one more thing on. Like, she's the type of champion that once she kind of like starts to engage on an enemy, she's gonna be like using all her abilities in very quick succession. So it is really hard to run away from her, given that she's getting the dash after every single ability. You can imagine if, for example, like a Darius had 3 or 4 dashes in his combo. She is very hard to get away from.
Mobility, huh? So I'm
Yeah.
surprised they'd go in that direction.
Yeah. Mobility creep has never been a thing in this game. They are small dashes, but it's enough to make it so that even if she's using all her abilities, she can just stick to you. I almost consider her like a spiky AD Cassante instead of being really tanky. She just kind of has all the same play patterns, except she takes you down in a few hits, and she goes down quicker as well.
All
All right,
right,
want to tell me about her Q?
we got the old bread and butter spell. For
Mm-hmm.
every energy champion, the Q tends to be the spammy ability.
That's for almost every champion in the game.
Yeah, that's true. So we got this basically a line skill shot kind of thing, and then it does more damage.
Yeah, this isn't too hard to hit. I've definitely seen it miss in the games I've played with her, but yeah, it's not too hard to hit, and then it deals damage pretty quickly. You know, it's dealing some maximum health damage, which will make her, you would think, very good in the top lane. I've seen her in the top lane, jungle, and mid lane so far. Hopefully, I'm not, kind of burying the lead and saying things out of order here. But I've actually seen her have the most success, surprisingly, mid lane in my experience so far.
Yep, top lane
You
is a
would,
different animal.
yeah, I mean, you would think that with this bread and butter skill being a maximum health pierce, that would be her best place. But that's where I've seen her the least of the three roles. I've seen her in jungle a bunch where she didn't succeed as much. I've seen her in mid lane where she has succeeded. Um, Yeah, and being able to build a few hundred bonus AD means that 3% health shred at rank 5 is going to become more like 6 or 7% with every single time that she hits you.
That makes sense that she'd be good mid because these energy champions can usually do like a few combos, whereas a lot of the mid laners, they're going to do like one rotation and then they're kind of vulnerable for a while.
Yeah, that is very true. She can kind of get in and do damage quickly enough, unlike someone like a Cassante, that you're not going to have the time to run behind your turret before she finishes you off.
All right, next up, we've got the old repudiation over here.
It's not a terrible name. They could do worse. It could be loyalty program.
Yeah, the old missiles, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, what do we got here? I think this is like kind of just like Riven's E, where she just blows up the area all around herself and then also gives herself a shield. In fact, it looks like that's exactly what it is Riven's E. Yeah.
Somewhere between that and like the Cassante charge, I would say. And yeah, there's a little bit of like the Silas, like kind of like move in and then just like AOE the very small area around you. Kind of with the Q and this W. In terms of like the play pattern, I'm not so sure I'd call it exactly like the Riveni, but I see what you're saying. Yeah,
You're
I think
right.
it's in the Venn diagram of those three.
You're right. The numbers on it are like twice as good as Riven's E.
Yeah. This has a very high bonus AD ratio on it. 75% on this, skill that can be used as part of a really smooth combo.
Yeah, cooldown on
Uh,
it's pretty long though.
yep. With that said, that is bonus AD, not total AD, so at least there's that. And the 175% bonus AD shield means good luck bursting through.
I like this seems a lot more simplistic, which I like they've tried to go back to with some of the last 10 champs. There's still been some convoluted nonsense, but I think for the most part, the last 10 or so champs have been kind of returned to something more digestible.
Some of them have been, yeah. With that said, there is some type of like weird mechanical interaction between the Q and the W that allows her to kind of like dash instantly instead of after the skill is used. It's probably for some type of like dash and then deal the damage combo. I haven't exactly figured out, what this means in a very technical sense, in terms of like where you'd use the skill order. But yeah, um, the way that she moves and then like the way that her damage comes out, in my experience, has been very unpredictable. So I think it's just if you're trying to get practice playing against Ambessa, like probably stop banning her. Get a lot of experience because the damage and the movement doesn't come out in exactly the way that you'd expect. It is definitely a champ that you kind of want to get just an instinct for how you have to move to avoid her combo.
Yep, next up we've got Lacerate, which,
Mm-hmm.
from what I'm reading, it seems identical to Kane's Q, where you do one slice, input a movement command, and then you do another slice.
I think it's just one.
Well, if you do the input command, you trigger her passive, so she'll do it again, right? Kane's, you don't have to do that, but it basically functions the same way.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. There are two of them, and again, if you've slowed the enemy by 99% on the first one, unless they have some type of blink or they use their flash, like you're gonna hit the second one pretty easily as well.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot
Look
to
at these,
say.
look at these bonus AD ratios, man. if you hit both parts of it, 160% in addition to a pretty decent 280 base damage at rank 5.
Yep. Some good scalings, that's for sure.
And then finally, we've got Public Execution.
Oh man, that sounds pretty violent. Right up there with the old assault and battery that had to change. Okay,
You think
next.
that if you think that if I used the assault and battery on the wrong target, like a Silas or someone like that, he'd be like, "F the pigs."
Okay. So whatever, we got What's Her Ass gains armor pen and heals herself for a percentage of the post-mitigation damage she deals to enemies with her active abilities. You know, I'm not sure the first time I read about her stuff she had that portion of this ultimate. That's
I
interesting.
couldn't tell you. I didn't see her in the PBE releases. But
First time I read about her
penetration.
ultimate, it was just kind of like a hard CC ability. I don't remember giving her a bunch of other stats.
Yeah, well, that's a passive on it. That's a passive on it. It's not like you even have to use the active to get that armor pen. And I think that that's kind of a big deal because if you remember, she has the max health shred on her Q. So it's like being able to go against maximum health and shred armor means there's no great way to build against her. If she's fed, she's gonna just shred you down.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy, that sustain.
The one way to beat her, I'd say, is just to kind of have a few different people trying to burst her at the same time. Like, she's not great in the team fights. Now the active is where she basically like sends out a line, almost like Yone or someone like that.
Yeah, sounds just like Yon, yeah.
Yeah, and then basically like rushes over and brings you way up in the air and slams you down. It's actually one of the coolest animations that is in League. It's really, really cool looking. She slams you down into the ground with so much impact and so much disdain. You just feel like you're a swine. It is a really well animated and designed skill. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Basically, once she engages with that successfully, you can't get away from her. There's just no way unless you're like an Ezreal or something like that. Yeah, it's a really good engage skill. Feels a lot like Cassante once she actually hits it. Feels like Yone while she's using it. Not too much else to say about this. Just that it's very easier for her to close in with this skill. I'd say it probably hits a little bit quicker than Yone's does. I'm not totally sure, but that's how it feels to me. And yeah, good luck getting away once she's comboed you.
Well, honestly, don't have a lot to say about this champion. She sounds pretty cool. My only gripe...
She looks like she'd be fun to use.
My only gripe, and it is admittedly petty, is that she just looks ridiculous, which is pretty par for the course these days.
Yeah, her 3D model looks a little weird. Like she's definitely like cooler looking in the animated Arcane. I don't know whether to call it an anime or not. I guess it's a cartoon.
She looks like a dude, which might have been the point. Who knows?
No, she's pretty badass. Her daughter's a lot prettier, but
who's that?
That's
Brand.
I mean, her daughter, I think, is mostly just known as Medarda, which is Ambassador's last name. I forget what her daughter's first name is in the anime, but she's a really cool character who, based on the cliffhanger ending from the first season, spoilers for the next 3 seconds.
Please
might
don't.
Be about to be. Oh, don't? Okay.
I was joking. I could give a shit.
Might be about to be blown up by a Jinx ult.
Thank you for spoiling that. You did a public service.
All right. I hope not. I like her daughter. Anyway.
What do you think about this kit? Looks pretty fun.
I don't want another Cassante in the game. I don't want Cassante in the game. I think this one is a little bit less obnoxious because even though she kills you a lot quicker, she also gets spiked a lot quicker. Definitely the bonus AD ratios means she's not building a lot of tank stats. She has to build a lot of AD.
I feel like outside of her ultimate, she feels very similar to Sylas.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Just kind of, I would say she's more like Sylas in terms of the actual like mechanics, the actual like ranges and shapes of her abilities. But in terms of what she's actually doing to you, the types of displaces, the types of like prepared dashes, it feels a little bit more to me like Asante.
Whatever.
I do think she'd be fun to use. I don't totally hate playing against her. It's just obnoxious when she actually closes, and there's nothing you can do to get away.
My first impression is I like Briar a lot more.
If you want a rating here, I'd probably give her like a 9 for in terms of like interesting and fun to play. I'd give her probably like a 4 for what I think she's going to do to game health, and in terms of whether it's going to be possible to balance her correctly. So I'll just meet somewhere in the middle and say I'm going to give her a 7 overall.
I don't think it'll be hard to balance her because, I mean, let's be honest, her kit feels very derivative of like past things in the game, so I don't think there's anything too warping in her kit that would be difficult to balance.
It's very much she has to go in and either kill you or die herself.
Yeah, well, there's like 20 of those champs.
Right. I think this one is even more like it because of those ridiculous AD ratios and the fact that she kind of only has her dashes getting in. Technically, she can use her dashes getting out, but, once she misses a combo or just doesn't have the firepower to kill you, she kind of has to run away afterwards. Not quite like a Lilia, where she can keep moving back in and out. Her energy costs are kind of too high to mean that she can just keep running in and out with the combos. So yeah, I think she may be a problem to balance, but she does look very fun from when I've played against her or had her on my team from the last several games that I've played with her. You want to give her a rating?
I guess like a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Overall, I'd give her a 6, but she just looks so fucking ugly. It's like
You don't think she's quite original enough?
I'd say she's second only to like Renata or Rel in terms of hideousness. So I feel like the aesthetic is kind of just as important as like the the skill set almost. It's like you can only take something so serious that looks so stupid, even if it has a cool kit. And like,
dude, I looked at your RimWorld characters before this video. Don't tell me about things that look stupid.
Okay, that's like cool. It's like a 2D game that's like 200 megabytes. Okay, this game's been around for like 15 years. Or whatever.
Honestly, like things are easier to like. It's so easy to end up in the Uncality Valley when you're trying to make like human 3D models. Like a stylized 2D model is actually easier to make look cool. And I think that's what they ran into here, because she's not like a beautiful person in Arcane, inside or out, honestly. She's supposed to not be like a pretty person. She's a pretty like average at best looking like 40-ish year old, maybe older, but she still looks cool, right? Like you look at her and you're like, yeah, that's stylish. And I think that's harder to do in a 3D model. Like, she'll probably look better in splash art, is what I'm saying.
Oh, splash art, I'm sure she'll look okay. In-game is all I care about.
I get you. There's a lot of, like, champs in League that are supposed to be good-looking that actually look kind of hideous in their 3D model. It's not easy to do.
No, she's just hideous. Trust me, it's not because she's black. I think Senna and Lucian look absolutely great. And there was another... what do you think? Viego. When Viego first came out, I loved his kit. I loved his abilities. But I thought he looked so fucking stupid He's got like this giant sword. He's wearing like his tight leather pants. He's like this redonkulously scrawny punk with like
Yeah. Viego is for the people who think Draco Malfoy is hot.
I know, he's got like this scrawny concentration camp physique that's like so ugly, and it really detracts from the coolness of the champ, because he has one of like the most interesting, cool, and thematically engaging like kits in the game, and it's like, I don't know, it really took away from the champion, and that's just another example of a design I thought really missed the mark. You know?
Yeah, I think it's more of a case of different strokes for different folks, right? Again, some people do think Draco Malfoy is hot. I'm definitely not one of them, but you know, it's like you know, everybody's gonna like their type of like. Some people like the really burly, like, you know, like how the all the characters you'd make in World of Warcraft that are male, you know, used to look, in terms of like, you know, their chest is like, you know, 48 inches thick. You know, some people like the skinner like pretty boys. You know, the anime Baishonen.
If WoW let you make your
you can't-
humans
you can't
fat,
please
people
everyone.
would make fat characters, man. They only let you make people in like their physical prime in WoW.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, some people like that. You know, some people really like the Superman. You know, everybody's like a you know, badass looking superhero. And some people look like people who look like you know, more normal proportions. If anything, I'd say Ambessa has that. You know, she looks like you know, a female who's been bodybuilding.
To say the least.
Yeah.
She looks like she's
you know,
been exposed to so many gamma rays, she's about to turn into the She-Hulk.
Oh my god. Stop body shaming this woman.
They body shamed her by throwing this fucking farce together, man.
It's not the greatest model, I'll give you that.
And they're like, goofy fro.
yeah.
The fuck?
Look, Noxus has some weird, you know, fashion sense.
The armor, or her clothes don't look that weird. Well, actually, no, she just has these. Her weapons just look stupid, just like Cassante's. Never mind, I take it all back. There's nothing redeemable. She's just ugly.
I feel so bad being associated with this right now. Yeah, I do think she's a pretty cool champ. You know, fun kit, and I think it's going to be hard to kind of keep healthy.
Where do they come up with these like names too? Is that like Estonian for dyke or something? What the fuck?
Oh no, Christy, come on, dude.
At least action was like a play on words, you know. I'm Akshan, but action.
Lights, camera, action.
Yeah, exactly. At least it was like a joke. Anyway,
I don't know. Maybe they just you know, came up with a few. I don't know. Maybe there's some type of history behind the name.
I'm sure
maybe they just
is.
came up with a few syllables that sound cool together.
My money is there's just a hat, and they're like, well, it's been a while since we made someone that started with the letter A, and we have like 5 S's, so throw those letter out. I wouldn't be surprised if it was honestly that simple.
Man, do you think it sounds bad? Ambessa.
It just sounds dumb, random, and almost doesn't mean anything. You know, I'd rather her be named like Amber or something.
Amber. Okay. I think we're done here.
Okay. That does it for patch 14.22, and there's no way I'm respecting this enough to make it the splash art, that's for sure. Or keeping Swain or one of the other things in this patch. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time and catch our next NFL video, I suppose.